Hello everyone, good morning, good evening, welcome back. Welcome to Cloud and DevOps batch 57. So before I start the session, I would like to give a quick recap on what's being covered in the previous session. So previous session, the goal for yesterday's session was very quite simple. I would like to create a machine and I would like to connect to it. Okay, and again, when you want to connect, I mean to say authenticate. We discussed what is authentication. In how many ways Linux offers authentication is also something we discussed. Passwordless authentication is one thing that is native to Linux, where without the need of username, without the need of a password, rather than entering the password, you can use a key. Using the key, you can connect. In order to understand what is a key-based authentication, we have discussed a lock and a key concept. So using that concept, we have enabled, okay, we have generated the key pair and public key we have hosted on the top of the server, and using the associated private key, we have connected to it. And also, we also discussed extensively about the naming standard. Whenever you are creating any sort of server, keep this point in mind, the naming standard is something very, very important. Okay, just by looking at this name, you should understand what it is doing. Okay, this is just for the lab purpose, and I would like to know what image it is running. It's running CentOS 7 and it is offering on the CentOS development environment. Okay, so any naming standard, each and every organization has their own set of naming standard. So as a part of the naming standard, the naming standard main aims, just by looking at it, they should understand which environment, which application, which operating system it is running. That information should be very much clear. That is something we have discussed. Also, I want to put one more point. Okay, yesterday, starting from today, whatever we have discussed in the class, we are going to publish those things inside the daily notes. So yesterday, whatever we discussed, session 3, you can find the notes related to that. When I say notes, what topics we have covered. Okay, so what topics we have covered, you can find all of it, and the associated recording, you can find it here. So you don't have to rush. Okay, so whenever you are practicing, or if you miss any session, and if you want to know what are the topics that are covered, or if you want to know in session 5 what topics were covered, so you can come here and you can look at this, and the associated YouTube video, you can find it here. All right, guys. And on each and every day basis, you can see session 3, session 4, session 5, session 6, and like forth. You can see all of them in the daily notes panel, daily notes repository. Okay. I hope every one of you got this. In case if you haven't got this, please do let me know. I'm pushing it one more time in the chat window. Please do check. All right. So, and what else we have seen yesterday? We have also seen how can we connect to it, and that's something we have discussed. And also, I also want to give an recap on. Okay, so what if on what factors needs to be considered when selecting an instance or creating an instance. For example, if you got a request to create an instance, what all factors would you be considering before you provision a server? Okay, so what all questions you would ask? Okay, what all things that you would ask, and how are you going to mention it as a billing requirement, and how are you going to ask, okay, whether it is a shared hardware model or a dedicated host? For example, in the same company, if the company is doing payment processing, or where the payment processing happens in the company system, so as a part of the global data payment rules, okay, so GDPR, global data protection rules, okay, or as a part of the payment card industry, there is something called as PCI compliance, payment card industry data standard. As per them, you should not store customer data in a machines where other customers data is also organized. In this case, you need to host them on a separate machines. So that's the reason you need to ask them what type of applications it is. Okay, and if they specifically mention we would like to run it in a dedicated host, that means your virtual machines will be provisioned on the machines where only your company machines are going to be provisioned. But here in the case, the machines are going to be costly. That is called as a tenancy, shared tenancy model, or a dedicated host model. Also, when you create an instance, there are a couple of instance checks, system status checks, and instance status checks. So that is something we have in extensively discussed. Also, just before the session, we have a question from one of the student, Naresh, saying that what is the requirement? Okay, so what if whatever my customer asks, if that exact match is not available on the top of the server, or in the list of Amazon offered instance types, what would you do? That's also something we need to discuss. Okay, and also I have given a clear explanation how and why in Amazon in less than 30 seconds or less than 1 minute of time, how even you are able to create a server with installed operating system. And I also mentioned even a Windows-based machine, you can just get this started in less than 1 minute. How it's possible is also something we have discussed. And the concept is AMI. AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. Okay. Amazon Machine Image. What that means, Amazon Machine Image is nothing but a machine, okay, a disk with installed operating system. Okay, so where you can find all the installed operating systems, which is exclusively for the Amazon. That is something we have extensively discussed. And also we have discussed various varieties of instance types: T series, C series, M series, G series. T series is a general purpose hardware, where 2 series is T2 is second generation hardware, 3 series T3 is third generation hardware. So we also got one question from one of the students saying that what is the Amazon recommendation, or what is the maximum limit that you can create a server with how many CPUs and how much memory that you can create. Okay, so you need to understand one point. Always smaller machines are less. Okay, so higher machines are always costly. Now you might think smaller machines offer less CPU, less memory. Obviously, they are costly, less, and higher machines or higher capacity machines offer high CPU and high memory. And that's the reason they are very much costly. That might not be true. For example, if there is a small machine, if there is a small machine with one CPU and 1 GB of RAM, and if it's costing you $100 per hour, for example, if you try to create a server, this is just arbitrary, okay? 8 CPUs and 8 GB of RAM. If you are thinking that it's going to cost you $800, that's not true. It might cost you 1,000 or 1,200. Okay, always the machines with higher capacity cost you more. Okay, you need to understand this one point. If someone comes and says to you, hey, I want to provision a server that should have 2 TB of memory, 2 TB of memory and 2000 CPU, obviously you can provide, that is close to your requirement, but those are always costly. And instead what we do is, rather than provisioning one big machine and running the entire set of applications on the top of the single server, what if you lose this entire application, all the applications that are running would collapse. So rather what we do is we run applications independently. For example, 2 cards, 3 cards on different machines. This way it will be fault tolerant. Even in case if you lose this application, still your application works. And at the same time, cost would also be less. And this type of scaling is called as vertical scaling, adding resources to the same instance. Okay, this type of scaling is called as a vertical scaling, which we don't recommend, by the way, unless until you have a very complex application that needs 512 GB of RAM and almost 228 CPU. Then only we encourage. But we always, if someone comes and says that we want this much big instance, we always push hard, saying that, hey, it's gonna cost us. Are there any way that we can run these applications independently? Okay, so yeah, likewise we need to push. But to answer your question, yeah, we can also check. So let's try to create a server one more time. Okay, and also before I proceed further, yesterday I have created a server keeping the Windows people in mind. Okay, now I also want to highlight one more point: passwordless authentication. When we are talking about the passwordless authentication, so when you're talking about the passwordless authentication, there are two varieties. Okay, passwordless authentication. Okay, so passwordless authentication, typically it asks you what type of key that you want to download, whether putty based or PEM. So putty stands for, PPK stands for putty private key. Okay, this is specifically designed if you are using putty. Okay, use only this format if you are using putty. But Manoj, we are not using putty. I'm using a MacBook, or I don't like the interface of putty. What is the other option? Okay, so you can also use Git Bash. Okay, Git Bash is a very nice tool. if you are using Git Bash, you need to use the .pem format. Either you need to use that or you need to use this. Okay, if you already have this key, you can convert the PPK to this. And if you're already having a PEM, you can also convert to this. Public key still remains the same. Okay, so private key can be available in PPK or PEM format. All right, so all the Mac users, if they want to try, please try this only, Git PEM. And if you are a Windows user, please use this. Also, if any of the user in our training is using Windows-based machine, please install Git. Okay, Windows. Please install Git Bash on the top of it. And this offers you a nice terminal. This offers nice terminal. This offers terminal for Windows. All right. So let me try to show you that as well. All right. Any questions, anyone, before I proceed? Bahuraj? Bahuraj?
Yes. Manoj, one question related to creating a virtual machine.
We'll see that
Like,
one more time. If you have
okay,
any question, we're gonna see that one more time.
okay.
All right. I did not get any chat message. Sasikala, can you please check that one more time? I have sent the details to everyone. Yeah, hope you got it. Perfect. So let's get started. Now in the AWS, I have selected trainer.manuvarma.6 a.m. and that's my password. And all right. Now EC2 is a service which is a elastic cloud compute. Come here and select this. That helps you creating a server. And starting from today, I don't go to North California, Oregon, or any other regions. I'll simply stick to North Virginia because in North Virginia, things are a little bit inexpensive. So I would like to go with this. So come here and I would like to, so even before that, I want everyone of the Windows user, please install this. Just open browser and search for Git Bash for Windows. Just say Git Bash for Windows. It gives you some very nice terminal. Come here and click this. All you need to do is you just need to click this, which is going to download this tool. Okay, what it does, why do I need to do that? We'll see all of this very soon. But for now, download for Windows. And it asks you whether your computer is 64-bit or 32-bit. Obviously, all the computers nowadays are 64-bit. So I'll select it. So that software is going to be downloaded. And it's just like any other installation. You just click next. And once you install it, you can see Git Bash. Just type Git Bash on your okay, search, and you can see Git command and Git Bash. Select the Git Bash, which is going to give you some nice terminal. Okay, using this terminal also we can connect to the Linux machines. Okay, so let me try to show you that. Okay, now today I'm gonna create a server and ensure every one of you are in the North Virginia region only. Okay, if you see certain images in North California, those images you might not see in North California. Okay, that means whatever the AMIs that are available are regional specific. Okay, I have selected North Virginia. Starting from today, I highly request everyone to follow only North Virginia, keeping the billing in mind. You get very less billing when compared to other regions. So I highly recommend everyone, people who are using free tier, please use North Virginia. Even our lab related resources are available in North Virginia. I repeat one more time, please use North Virginia, which is US East 1. I would like to launch an instance. All right. So I could see one more question in the chat window. Is putty necessary for all version of Windows? Not really. So till, as I mentioned, starting from Windows 11, the base flavor of Windows 11 is Linux. If your computer is Windows 11, you will get a default terminal. Okay, you just put the Windows button and then search for terminal. You'll see the default terminal. As I mentioned, starting from Windows 11, even Windows machines are offering terminal. But mine is Windows 10 computer, but majority of the users are also using Windows. And that's the reason I'm insisting everyone to use Git Bash, and Git Bash is very lovely tool. So I would like to say, we are following the standard. So this is lab machine, and this is CentOS 7, and this is, for example, dev. I'm using a PEM format. Okay, just for the sake of understanding. And I would like to search for AMI. Today I'll be a little quick because we already discussed this point. Okay, let's select the community AMIs. And once you get to the community AMIs and search for CentOS 7. And if you think that your account is activated, I'm repeating again, if you think that your account is activated, still, whenever you're launching any instance, if you face an error, launching failed, that means your account is not fully activated. Okay, read that. You might see an error saying that your account is not fully activated. In that case, you need to reach Amazon. How to reach Amazon? Very soon I'm gonna update you. Okay, just for CentOS 7. So select anything. Anything is fine. Yeah, let me try to use this. Any image, anything is fine. I'm looking for something that minimal operating system supported. Okay, something. Select this. Okay, done. And all I need to do is I need to generate a key pair. Okay, because I would like to generate a PEM format. Okay, so what happened? One second, it's loading. All right, so let me search. Still loading. All right, so I'm looking for something that is very least or lightweight. So anything is fine, as I mentioned. Yeah, just select this one, support. All right, so select this AMI. Oh, it's a very big instance. Can you see this? So I do not want this AMI. It's pretty big AMI. So. For some reason, the console is quite slow. It's taking time to load. Okay. Come here. And if you look at this AMI is published on. That means this was shared on 2nd of December 2023. That means it is just 3 months old. So we can just 2 months old, 2.5 months old. Select this. And then select the key pair. Okay, you need to generate a key pair. And the key pair, again, if you look at this, I'm gonna use the PEM format because I would like to check with git bash. Okay, only use this if you are using putty, but if you are wanna try connecting from your MacBook or default terminal, prefer going with PEM. All right, so B57 PEM. All right, done. All you need to do is just create a key pair. Okay, and this is available in your downloads folder. So just copy this file and put it in the users profile section. My name is Manoj, so I would like to keep it inside this. Done. Okay, I kept it in my Manoj folder. Now all I need to do is I just need to start the server, launch an instance. Okay, now this machine is going to be launched. And if you want to connect to this instance, all you need to do is you need to use SSH command. So do you know how much vast Linux is? If I ask you what is your Gmail address, what do you say, guys? Anyone? Anyone? If I ask you what is your Gmail address, typically you end up saying the email address is, for example, mine is the cloud carriers at the rate. I'm just using space, okay? gmail.com, right? So what is here the cloud carriers and at the rate gmail.com? Anyone? Anyone who is interested? Anyone? Anyone? So if someone asks you what is your Gmail, you will say the cloudcourage@gmail.com or michael@yahoo.com or steve@yahoo.com. So what is this? Anyone who is interested?
Gmail.com is a domain name.
Mhm. It's a server details, right? It's a detail. It's a detail of the server, right? So you cannot remember the server names. Agree? Server IP address. And that's the reason you create a domain name. So that means fundamentally this is identity. Okay. You can also call it the server name. Okay. That means you are connecting to the Gmail server. Gmail.com is a server. And what is this? This is a username. Okay. That means if you, that means what you're doing is you're telling I would like to connect. Okay, you're telling I would like to connect to the gmail.com server by using the username as the cloud carriers. Okay, here the cloud carriers is a username at the server name. That means with a single command, if someone asks you if you're telling my Gmail address is the cloud carriers @yahoo.com, people understand that you're connecting to yahoo.com. Yahoo.com is a server. Okay, and that the cloud carriers can be the username. Okay, you know from where it came from? It came from Linux only. If you wanna SSH to, or if you wanna connect to Linux server, this is how you use. Okay, SSH CentOS, which is nothing but the username, and this is followed by the IP address. Okay, IP address or the domain name. All right, and here CentOS is the username, and is something which we use to differentiate, and the IP address is nothing but I would like to connect to this particular IP address using the username CentOS. Okay, this is the command that you would be using to connect to the Linux server using a command. All right, so that's where the @domain.com, okay, abc@google.com, all this came up. As I mentioned, Linux is very vast. Almost all the innovative technologies were grown up on the top of Linux. For Mac user, Vedant, as I mentioned, you don't have to use because you get that by default. The terminal is something you get by default. All right. Now I got the server up. I think it's still taking up. Why it's taking up? All right. Let it come up. So I want to mention one more point. Starting from today, okay, this is one point I want to mention. Very important point. Starting from today, we are not going to connect to servers with keys. Okay, so for learning purpose, we have a lab image that works with username and password. And I want every one of you to use this, not anything apart from that. Okay, why you need to go with this? Because first we need to learn Linux, and this image gives you ease. Okay, and at the same time, this image, this AMI is designed least resources and how incorporate and with username and password. Okay, so if you are using username and password, you get a feel that, oh, you're already working. Okay, in organizations everywhere you see username and password. Even in training, we would like to stick to that. We do not want to deviate from what's not being used. And at the same time, the AMI helps me whenever down the line, okay, we are going to work together for the next 2.5 months. Down the line, whenever you are having any sort of challenges, for example, you're doing a project, you're having some challenges. If you use this, all I do is I'll ask you what is the IP address of the server. I can immediately connect to the server because I know the username and password. And what is the AMI to use? What is the username and password for that? Let me try to share everything here. Okay, I have updated the notes here. And if you look at this going forward, Linux Learning AMI to use. Okay, I want every one of you to please use this Linux Learning AMI, whose name is, okay, Learn Linux on CentOS. That's the name of the image, which is available in North Virginia. Okay, that works with username and password. So I would like to use that. So I'm in the North Virginia region. Okay, I'm in the North Virginia region. I would like to launch an instance. Also, I could see a question from Naresh. If you want to use from Windows and Mac, which secure method we have to use? Anything, end of the day, whether you use PuTTY or SSH, end of the day, everything are SSH clients. So it really doesn't matter. Again, you're using a protocol called as SSH, Naresh. So yeah, lab AMI, lab CentOS 7, Linux, okay, lab CentOS 7.
Like in the organization, we do have like Mac users and the Windows users and the Linux users, right? In that case, like .payment.ppk we are installing here.
You can
So,
still convert.
okay.
Okay. So yeah, browse the AMIs and community, select the community AMIs and search for this. Okay. So everyone, please search for the Linux. Okay. Learn Linux on CentOS 7 AMI. That AMI works with username and password. Come here. All right. So come here. You would get, there is a result in the AMIs. Let's wait for it. It's still loading. Yes, there is a AMI, Learn Linux on CentOS 7 that is published by me, and select this. Okay. That AMI is very less in size. Okay. So yeah, that's the reason I would like to use, and ensure you choose the instance type as T2 micro. I made some settings that make sure that you select this by default as T2 micro, which is a part of the free tier. Now, what I'm gonna do, all these days we are selecting the key pair, right? B57, B55, a lot of key pairs I have, but I do not want you to select any key pair. I repeat, I want every one of you starting from today, please use this AMI, learn Linux on CentOS 7, and proceed without key pair. That means you are instructing server, do not use keys while starting. That means it works with username and password for this AMI. Okay, come here and just launch this instance. All right. And the server is launched, and let the server get launched. Now I'm going to show you how to connect without the username, without the keys instead of password. Let's try to get started. And it's in the pending state. So whenever you see the status as pending state, that means resources are not allocated. For example, Amazon has, okay, so this is a physical server, and on the top of the server, whatever the virtual machine that you have requested will be provisioned, right? But whenever you see the status as pending state, okay, you saw the status as running, and the right now the status as pending. So when you see the status as pending, that means uh, Amazon has not allocated the resources. That means Amazon has not figured out where it has to provision you the server. So whenever during, and that's the reason last year whenever when we are teaching the batch 56 during the Christmas last 2 weeks of December and third week of November, people who are using free tier accounts face challenges whenever they are provisioning the servers. Why? Because Amazon is experiencing huge capacity demands across the states. So at that time, whenever Amazon experiences capacity demand, at that time you might have to wait, and sometimes your request will also take time to provision. Okay, at that time, nothing to worry. Okay, so the moment you see pending state, it would be briefly, you can see that in the general scenario for 10 to 15 seconds. If you're saying longer time, that means you need to understand Amazon somewhere is experiencing capacity issues. So Amazon's program is still looking where can it provision you the server. Okay. Now you can also look at this, and the statistics are, you can see running and running. Okay. So it's pretty quick. Now I would like to connect to the server. All I do is I open my Git bash. So SSH is a protocol. What is the username that we are using to connect? Anyone? Anyone? CentOS. And what is the IP address? This. Enter. Now it's asked you, hey, are you sure that you want to connect to the server? Yes, I would like to connect to this. That means your entry will be registered in the server because you are connecting to the server from this machine for the very first time. That's the reason the Linux server is asking, you're trying to connect to the server. Are you sure that you want to register the entry? So this entry will be recorded in the server. Now it's asking for the password. Yesterday it didn't ask the password because you're using keys, and that's a different AMI. Today you're using an AMI which offers or which works with password. So what is the password to use? So here I have mentioned this is the password. So Linux is case sensitive. That means instead of CentOS, CENTOS lowercase letters, if you use uppercase letter, it will not work. Okay. So DevOps 321, 321 is capital letter. So come here. Okay, now you are connected to the server. Okay, so during practice, whenever you're having any sort of challenges or anything, all I ask is give me the public IP address or give me the IP address. Immediately I can connect to the server and I can work on your challenges. All right, guys. But if you're interested to connect from Putty, yes, you can also connect using Putty. Come here, even in the Putty, all you need to do is just this and open. It asks you enter CentOS. The password is okay. This is how you can connect. So git bash is only if you're interested about using this. I personally recommend using git bash. Even I'm using a Windows user. From week 2, I'll also start using the MacBook because we have both the set of users. All right. Any questions, challenges? Anyone? I repeat, the AMI available here is okay. Linux Learning AMI. Okay, Linux Learning. Okay, Learn Linux on CentOS 7 is AMI name. Okay, Learn Linux on CentOS 7, and that's the AMI that works with the username and password, whose credentials are this, and it is available only in the North Virginia region. I repeat, it is available only in the North Virginia region. Okay, now any questions? Anyone? Every one of you should be very much clear. If not,
Uh,
we'll face some challenges.
the version that you have shown, the CentOS version, uh, uh, like it has a default password, and like what is like I you uploaded it, I get that. What is like is that something we can do on our own also,
Yeah,
or
you can. You can. Once there is a training. So week 1, basics, week 2, projects, week 3, shell scripting. Once you're done with the shell scripting, you can also make the images that I have made, just like how companies make. Answers your question?
okay? So right now we can use yours, and later
Yes.
we want to make ours.
No, no. You can make yours, but throughout the training, I highly recommend you to use the lab images so that we all can be on the same page. Okay. Just like how in a project, how all the team members use the same version or same image. Similarly, we are all a team now. We all have to work on the same sort of images so that whatever I teach, you can practice. Okay, if you use something, if I use something, things will not work because I'll also present you with nice documentation on how to implement certain things on CentOS.
Okay. And just one last thing, for these things that we do, we just need to repeat them once we are done with the class to be thorough with
That
it.
is
That's
minimum. Yes, that is minimum. So
okay.
the beauty of the classes, and if you look, most of them, you might think that we are covering a lot of topics, and most of them are very much practical. So the expectation is after the class or before the class, we expect at least minimum 1 to 2 hours of practice. Whatever we cover, we want you to practice at least on a day-to-day basis. If not, the backlog is going to increase day by day.
Mhm. Okay.
Manoj, the one question, we created a virtual machine now. So if we get a task like with a different configuration, we want to create lots of virtual machines, then
Yes.
it will be a tedious job, right?
No, that is a beautiful task because you don't do manually. What if I say all you need to do is just click a button? Do you believe
Okay.
that? That is the level of maturity we are going to achieve in this training. How can you
Okay.
achieve it? By doing all these things from the console? No. We use some beautiful infrastructure as a code utility called as Terraform.
Okay.
Mark my words. You wanna apply for a cloud job, DevOps job, or SRE job, the first thing that they ask you, whether you know cloud or not. Do you know
Okay.
Terraform? That will be the first question. You take any job descriptions, 8 out of 10 job descriptions, you're gonna see Terraform. And for example, if I want to choose a product, for example, I'm using Amazon Cloud. I want to buy a SaaS offering from a company called as Atlas, which offers database as a service. If
Okay.
that company is not offering their service where we can provision their service using Terraform, we are not going to buy that. That is the level that companies went behind Terraform, because no one does things manually. Okay, I want to repeat that. But
Okay.
why are you teaching manually now? If you ask me this question, if you want to automate something, you need to know how to do manually first. Okay, so we are going to teach things, how things work, and then we are going to achieve things in a automated approach. That's the whole idea behind the training.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah, but yeah, stay tuned. You'll like it. All right. Now we know how to connect to the server, and we can also run the commands like uptime. Uptime is a command which tells you since when the machine is up, and I can see the machine is up from last 8 minutes. Now, after the session, I want every one of you to terminate the machine. Okay, I want every one of you to terminate the mission. Why? I want to talk about billing today. This is very important. Yesterday we spoke about billing, but we didn't talk. Okay, if possible, tomorrow we'll also talk about billing alerts. What if I get this much billing, how can I get an alert? Okay, we'll also quickly see that. Billing on AWS. Okay, this is a very interesting concept, because end of the day, everyone aims on billing. Okay, if a company wants to fire some people, what they do, they find out the highest paid resources and they eliminate them, right? And even in organizations, if any of the resource or any of the computing resources is costing them more and the return of investment is very less, they'll immediately try to find a way to get rid of it. So it's always recommended you try to do things in a better way so that that product will live forever. Okay, that's the main idea behind it. So how are you going to achieve it? So in AWS, how billing works is pay as you go. Okay, so it's a pay as you go. It's a pay as you go. What do you mean by pay as you go? You would be paying for what you have used, and you would be getting monthly billing. Okay, so pay as you go, and you would be getting monthly billing. That means how much hour you have utilized, you would be getting bill at the end. Now, if you ask me, what if my company has used X amount of resources, and later if they fail to pay the bill, they don't do that. But as an individual user, if you do that, they'll wait for 30 days or 60 days, and then they'll suspend your account, and then they terminate the account. Okay. Now we need to understand one point. I want to update one point yesterday. So I did mention, okay, so T2 Micro, right? So as a part of the T2 Micro, it's free. Okay, perfect. So what T2 Micro offers? It offers 1 CPU and 1 GB of RAM. Okay. And you can use a maximum of 30 GB disk, which is attached to it. Right? You can use a maximum of 30 GB disk as a part of the free tier. Apart from that, you use anything, it's going to be costly. Now, if you want to connect to this, you are using an IP address, right? 100.200.120.10.30, something. Okay, you are having an IP address, and this is the public IP. That means public IP's address is nothing but an address which can be accessed from the internet. Okay, so when Amazon has started its business operations in 2006 or 7, since then they made the utilization of public IP address as free. Okay, that means you have a public IP address that is attached to the server, and the server is running, you won't be billed. Keep this point in mind. You are having a public IP address and you are running the server, you won't be billed. okay, in the free tier. But you have taken a public IP and you have attached to the server and you are not starting the server. That time you will be billed. Starting from 1st of Feb. Okay, very recently. Okay, these IP addresses are called as elastic IP addresses. Are not free anymore. Okay, this is a very latest update. Amazon has announced this almost 6 months back. Okay, saying that from 1st of February, it's not going to be free. It will be very minimal. You can even check in the internet, AWS public IP costing. You can check it in the news. You can see that usage beyond 750 hours per month. Okay, that means earlier there is no limitation. Usage beyond 750 hours per month in the public IPv4 address will be charged at $0.005 per hour, as announced in the AWS news blog, which in turn is going to affect from 1st of February 2024. Okay, so yeah, this is one point, but we all fall under the category of free tier unless until we consume beyond 750 hours of server utilization, then only you'll be billed. But earlier this billing was not there, and this is a brand new billing adjustment. So I want to bring it to your attention. If in interview, if anyone asks you how in free tier works, all these things, you can clearly mention that from 1st of February there is a change. All right. Okay. Perfect. So let's go. Now, how billing works? Let's also get started. Now, how can I check what will be the billing to my project? Or how can I check what is the billing if someone asks me to create some T3 lot large machine, which offers me some X CPU and Y memory. Okay. How am I going to be billed? How do I come to know? Let's talk about that. Okay. So even before I go there, AWS instances with respect to billing. In AWS, EC2 offers 3 types of instances. Okay, this is very important. I'm only talking with respect to the billing. Okay, so with respect to the billing in AWS EC2, it offers 3 types of instances, and one type of instance is on-demand instance, which we often use. Among all this, the costly billing mode. Next thing is reserved instance. It's not going to be that much costly. And next is spot. And this is gold, where you can get 90% of the discount. Gold. Every company is behind this spot instance. What is this spot instance? I'm gonna talk very detailed. Okay, here you will get almost 90% discount. And here, if you are paying 100 rupees, you'll just pay 10 rupees here. But there are some key takeaways. Business is all about takeaways and giveaways. So when you're talking about business, it's all about rate of investment, how much you're investing, how much you're getting back. And it's all about what you want versus what you can afford. Okay, so let's talk about that. All right. All right. So you got a request to provision a T3.large instance. So before you provision, you go and ask what flavor of operating Linux you want to use, how many CPUs and how much memory that you are planning to use, and how many graphic cards that you are expecting for the machine, which is nothing but GPUs, and what is the disk that you are expecting, and how much disk you want, whether you want 200 GB or 300 GB, or whether you want the second generation GP2 or GP3. Okay, you don't recommend them to use GP2. It's always GP3, which is a third generation hardware. So let's go with the AWS billing calculator. Come here. All right, so create an estimate. Okay, now again, as I mentioned, if you're running a server which is T3 micro on North Virginia, 1 hour, if it is costing you $1, in California it won't be $1, it will be $2 or $3. What I mean to say is, depending on the region where you are running your server, the cost varies. Just like an apartment costs, how it costs in North Virginia versus how it costs in North California, right? So in the East Coast, when you compare to West Coast, how things are. Okay, so the taxation varies. So for example, in India, in Hyderabad, your flat costs are very, very high. For example, if you go to a small town or village, you won't be paying that much rent, right? So how much you pay also depends on where you are staying and where your things are operating. Okay, law of the land and the cost of the area you're living is something that defines all the expenses around. So with that note, among all, North Virginia is something that's a decent region. So I would like to create a server, right? So region, I would like to create it in the North Virginia because we speak most on North Virginia, and the code name for it is US East 1 because it's located in the East Coast. Next, find the service. I'm interested to create the billing estimate. This is how whenever you're dealing or whenever you're setting any project, you create an estimate. Okay, for this project, we might be running these many servers, and these many servers would cost you, we are gonna run it for a month, and with this amount of disk, okay, this will be the billing that we would get. Okay, based on that, your project manager will negotiate with your AWS accounting manager. You would get some huge discounts. How to do that, what to do that, we'll see that. Okay, so I got the AWS EC2, select. All right, now I would like to create a billing estimate, billing per B57. All right, choose the region, North Virginia. And this is what I was saying, shared tenancy, dedicated instance versus dedicated host. Okay, there is a slight difference between dedicated instance versus dedicated host. Okay, so please specify the total number of dedicated hosts that you need each month. So when I say dedicated host, okay, that means you'll get the entire instance. Okay, so on-prem in the data center, you might be running certain set of applications, okay, where you already bought the licenses, which says they would be working only on the physical machines or on the bare metal machines, but not on the virtual machines. Okay, at the time, but your company decided to move your infrastructure to cloud. Even on cloud, they offer you dedicated host. That means the entire machine will be under control. Okay, so there won't be multiple machines running. This whole server belongs to you. You can run your operating system of your choice on the top of it. This is called the dedicated host. Okay, dedicated instance is nothing but on the top of the host. Okay, only the applications or only the servers that belong to your project would be running. So that's the difference between dedicated host versus dedicated instance. Okay, so I do not want to create a billing estimate for what do you say? So I do not want to create the billing estimate for a dedicated host. Instead, I would like to go with, okay, shared instance. Okay, so we should be very clear: shared instance, dedicated instance versus dedicated host. Dedicated host is nothing but you get access to the entire physical server. Are we gonna learn it? No, because it's a very, very costly thing. Only companies which needs that, only whenever they fall under the situation where their application runs only on the bare metal or only on an individual service. Okay, so for example, if you are using some third-party applications where you bought the licenses, saying that their licenses would be like this application will work for 16 CPUs. That means you need to have a server that has at least 16 CPUs. So then you would recommend a 16 CPU machine. Okay, but they are very costly because Amazon is dedicating the entire host for you. But the maintenance of it will be taken care by the Amazon only. You really don't have to worry. But I'd like to go with shared instance, and it's asking you, as a part of the billing, how many instances you would like to create? 1. And it's also asking you, okay, how whether you want to go with any instance family or do you have any specific specification in mind. So I think Naresh, this is what I was saying. Okay, based on whether your application is memory centric, CPU centric, GPU centric. Okay, based on that you need to select. Okay, but your requirement will be one among them. Okay, so yeah, but yeah, I would like to go with T3.large as we discussed. Where is T series? Yeah, T3. And in the T3 family, which is a general purpose hardware, okay, I would like to select T3.large, which offers me 2 CPUs and 8 gigs of memory, but I would like to go with T3.2x large. Let's see things at a bigger picture. Okay, T3.2x, okay, double extra large. Okay, all right, T3.2x large. Now go back to the billing estimate. Now I have selected this and scroll down all the way down. Now, if you look at this, it's asking you payment options. But where did we see that while creating a server? We didn't see any of it. Yes. So by default, whenever you're creating a server, it will be on demand. Okay. So on demand is nothing but, okay, typically in cloud, when you don't know when you are going to create the server and when you are going to destroy the server, Amazon is giving you the resources on demand basis, right? That means you're asking Amazon, I want it right now. That's the reason they're charging you more. For example, you are looking for a nice red color bench car, okay, Q3 or Q4. You're looking for a nice bench car, and red is considered as premium color and which you don't get often. Okay, but if you go to the bench showroom and say that I want to have a Q3, okay, I want to have I want to have the bench car of this of this series of red color. They say, sir, out of stock. Or they might say, this is something which is in high capacity, or this is something in high demand, you need to pay extra. You pay it. But what if you say, I am ready to wait? Or you're gonna go in the month of Jan and say that I'm looking for this car, I'm expecting the delivery in March or Feb, can you bring it? Then you can demand how much ever the price that you want to negotiate. The same concept. It's just like staying in a OYO hotel for 2 days, 3 days. For example, if it's costing you per day 1,000 rupees. If you're staying there for 10 days, it's going to cost you 20,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees. What if you stay there for 30 days, 30,000? But instead, if you take a flat, okay, in an apartment, saying that I would like to stay here for the next 6 months or 8 months or next 1 year, you would get it for 10,000 or 15,000, right? You almost get it for 50% or 60% lesser price. That means whenever you give a commitment to someone saying that I'm going to use this for X amount of time, that means you are showing the business that you're going to be utilizing it for the next few months. Obviously, you'll get some better discount, right? So rather, if you go to the same flat owner and say that I would like to stay here for 2 days or 3 days or half day, he's going to charge you more. Okay, it's called as giving commitment. If you give a commitment, you'll get some better discount. So in training, by default, we're gonna create on demand at this point of time, which is going to cost you a lot. For example, if it's costing you 100 rupees, $100, if you go with Spot, it just gives you close to 90%. Okay, almost 80% discount you would get. 90%. And again, the discount 80%, 90%, 99% is purely dependent on how valuable machine that you have selected. Okay, as I also mentioned, always the higher resources are very much costly. All right. So for example, T3 medium. Okay. So T3 medium, you come down and I'm gonna say I would like to use it for 100% of the usage. Okay. So in a month, round the clock, I would like to use it. And how much it's costing me? $30 per month. Okay. $30 per month. T3 dot medium. Okay. So T3 dot medium, if it is on demand. Okay. So if it is on demand per month, it's costing you $30. And if you look at 12 months, it's costing you how much? 30 into 12, $360. So it's costing you $360 if it is on demand, right? Now, if you tell Amazon, hey, in organizations, this is how things work, okay? You're gonna tell Amazon, I'm gonna use this instance for the next 1 year, or I'm gonna use this instance for the next 3 years. So if you go with this, okay, EC2 saving plan, like I would like to reserve it, okay, I would like to reserve this T3.medium instance for the next 1 year. Again, if you give a commitment to Amazon, okay, so if you say Amazon, whatever the billing that comes up, I'm gonna pay you everything right now. That means you're paying everything upfront in advance. Then you get some better discount. If you say I would like to pay some amount right now and some amount later, you'll get some better discount later. For example, if you're ready to pay right now everything, and if you say this is just costing you 212. Instead, if you say I'm not gonna pay all upfront, you'll get $19 per month, which is something 33% discount you got. Can you see this? Reserved. Okay, and if you see this, it's $19. 190 plus 36, it's around 216. You can say almost see 33% discount. But if you commit for 1 year, right? But here is a small catch. Okay, everyone should be very cautious. Now, rather, if you just say, I would like to use it for the next 3 years, you even get a better price, $13 per month. Go and say, if you give a commitment for $13, it would just cost you $12. So 3612, 360 plus, I'm very bad at math. 36 into 12, 432. No. 12 into 36. 12 into 12, it will be 144. 144 per month. See how much difference you got. Okay, but here you have a whether you use this instance or not, you're gonna pay bill for only whatever you have used, right? But here you're not sure, you're not certain about whether you're gonna use it or not, and that's the reason you're ready to pay more. This is not something you use in corporate. Okay, so in corporate, you'd be either going with a reserved or spot instance. Okay, either you would be going with spot or reserved instance. So here in the reserved instance, you told Amazon that you're going to use this T3.medium machine for the next 3 years. But because of some XYZ reason, you just use it for only 1 year only. Either you use it or not, you still need to pay for Amazon because you gave a commitment. See, it's like you took a flat in an apartment in Bangalore and you took it and you were there for 3 months and you gave a commitment that you're gonna stay there for 1 year and you're paying 15 months, 15,000 per month. That means per day 500. And if you cannot say to the landlord saying that, hey, I'm going on an international vacation and I'm not gonna stay in my home for the next 2 months, so I'm not gonna pay to you. That doesn't work, right? Same thing. So in the reserved instance, whether you use it or not, you still need to pay. Okay, but in organizations, they'll buy the reserved instances almost 300, 400, 500 as a part of the requirement, which will be used across the company, across the board in the project. So obviously, if you are not using, someone else will use, right? The same set of instance. So that is one catch. On-demand instance, so whether you use or not, you will just be paid for what you have used. In reserved instances, whatever the commitment that you have given, you need to pay that, okay, whether you use it or not. Okay, so here you are getting almost, okay, 33% discount. There is another type of instance called as a spot instance. Almost all the companies are behind the usage of spot because spot gives you up to, you can get up to 90% discount. But again, for everything there is a takeaways. Okay, how much you can afford versus what is there. So with that context, let me try to what happened to this. Okay, 1 second. Yeah. So here with Spot, you will almost get a up to 90% discount, up to 90% discount. But there are certain points that needs to be considered. If Spot is giving 90% discount, why other modes are there? Definitely there should be some logic behind it, right? So let's talk about it. So before I proceed, anyone has any sort of question? And also guys, I want to make sure one point throughout the training, cloud automation tools, everything keeps on update. So before I come to the class, I'll try to make sure whatever I'm saying are with respect to what's been updated in the technology or not, just like how 1st of February Amazon has updated the elastic IP or the IP address billing. So similarly, I'll try to say things that are up to the date. Few of them who already learned AWS 6 months, 1 year back might think that I'm incorrect, but I'll try to make sure to give you the updated result, because right after that training, majority of the people will start attending interviews. So keeping that context in mind, I'll try to always deliver the latest things or up to the date topic only. All right. So before I proceed, anyone has any sort of question? Spot is a very interesting topic. I'm going to talk about that. Anyone? I'm going to take a pause. Shiva, do you have any questions? Yes, Shiva, please tell me.
Yeah, Manoj. I was stuck at the tenancy, dedicated host, shared instances. I was stuck there. Could you please repeat that once one?
Yeah, dedicated host is nothing but Amazon will offer you the entire instance for you. That means the entire physical host will be under your control. There are certain sort of applications, okay, which work on physical machines, okay, where they don't expect to run the virtualization software. That means whenever the virtual machines are provisioning, at the time those applications are not designed to operate. So at the time, you prefer to run those kind of applications on the top of a physical machines or the bare metal machines on the organization. But if your company decided to go to cloud, or if your applications are designed to work on the bare metal machines, then Amazon don't want to lose such kind of customers. And that's the reason Amazon is also offering such kind of host for you. But again, everything comes at cost. Okay? But don't even attempt to select that. It's a very costly thing. All right? All right?
Yeah, Manoj.
So Spot instances, let's talk about it. So any other hands raised? So guys, I'm lowering all the hands. If anyone has any questions, you can raise. All right, let's get started. Spot instances. Spot instances in AWS. So Spot is the type of instance which was introduced by AWS. Okay, so to target the utilization of the leftover instances or the leftover resources. So Amazon is being built by companies with one of the best people in the world, one of the best brains were a part of the Amazon's initial build. So everywhere they felt like, okay, we are having this much amount of resources. How can we generate the revenue? How can we build something best for the partners? So with that context, they have introduced this. So Spot instances. So first, let's try to understand the features of the Spot instances. Spot instances offer up to 90% of discount. Wow, right? But these are not designed to host production workloads. So if you are thinking that I would like to host my workloads for production, these kind of resources are not designed for that. But not always true. Not always true. Why? We'll bypass certain things what even Amazon says. But yeah, let's wait. Next. Okay, spot instances offer up to 90% of discount, and these are not designed to host the production-based workloads. And at the same time, you cannot run more than spot server. Okay, you cannot run. For example, you created a server, and if the mode of it is 24 hours, you cannot run that instance continuously for 24 hours. Why? That's the rule. Okay, now next thing, spot instances. Okay, so till last year, I mean not last year, till 2022, there was no option to shut down a spot server. Once you create, it will be running. If you don't want, you just need to terminate. But starting from 2022, in the middle of 2022, so Amazon also introduced the option to shut down the server. Okay, but in any of the interview, the people who are not updated, if they ask you, can you shut down a spot server? The answer should be yes, you can, but only if you select the option to shut down. Amazon has introduced that option from middle of 22. That should be how you need to say. If you say yes, he might think that you don't know, but this is the most updated answer. Okay, you can even shut down a machine. A lot of companies gain 95% of the discount by the effective utilization of the spot instances. In this training, we are going to utilize spot to a very greater extent, okay, where it costs you just 200 to 300 rupees per month. And if you are going to follow the strategies that I'm going to teach, I'm going to exclusively utilize the opportunity offered by spot, which is going to offer you 90% of discount. Now I'll ask you one question. How it's possible if others are paying 90%? How come these guys are offering for 90% discount? Let me tell you that. See, Amazon has lots of resources, right? Amazon has lots of resources. And let's say assume Amazon has huge number of servers. So Amazon has huge number of servers that are running in their infrastructure. But do you think that all of them would be running or all of them would be utilized? Anyone? Anyone say that 100% of the resources are utilized?
No, not all the time.
Exactly, not all the time. There is also a concept called as a capacity reservation. Okay, so for example, capacity reservation. This is also a very nice concept in Amazon. Okay, I told you in the beginning of the session to link this concept. So not all the time, all the customers can get all the resources that they're expecting. So for example, Flipkart is running a big billion day sale, and if they have hosted their infrastructure on AWS Cloud. I know Flipkart's infrastructure is not on AWS, but let's assume Flipkart's infrastructure is on AWS, and during the sale, big billion day sale or Christmas sale or Sankranti sale, okay, they want to expand from 100 servers to 500 servers because of the huge capacity requirement from the customers, because a lot of people are buying products, a lot of people are doing shopping, and because to meet the capacity, obviously the applications are going to scale. When you say applications are scaling, that means your servers are scaling. That means if your application is running on 3 servers, it would scale up to 10 servers, 20 servers, 30 servers. Okay, and again, it's not something that is coming out of the space. Someone is creating and you're using it, but you are not managing it. Doesn't mean that there are no servers. You need to understand this point. But what if at the time Amazon cannot offer you 300 servers or 400 servers? What will happen? Anyone? You would be losing business, right? And that's the reason whenever you're having any sort of sale or any sort of thing, we place a capacity reservation saying that to Amazon, hey Amazon, during the month of Jan, Feb, March, April, we are not gonna during the month of November, December, Jan, we might be using 100 servers, reserve that capacity for us. That means Amazon is going to block it only for you. So when you say, excuse me. So whenever you have placed a request, okay, of capacity reservation to Amazon, saying that in the month of November, December, Jan, we would be needing 100 servers. For example, you have placed a request of 100 servers. Let's assume. Okay, so this is reserved for you. Okay, this is reserved for you. Whether you use it or not, you need to pay the bill, but Amazon confirms you the availability of 100 servers for you. This is called as a capacity reservation. So for example, likewise, a lot of people, lot of customers will place capacity reservation saying that they might be using during that particular time, but they might not be using it. You got my point? You have placed a capacity reservation, but you might not be using it. That is one case. Amazon has a lot of buffered resources. Keeping the future demands in mind, they would have bought a lot of requirement. Okay, they would have bought a lot of physical hardware, and assuming that the customers would be using, they would have bought a lot of hardware. But assume these are the hardware, they are untouched hardware, which are not used by anyone. Amazon is going to utilize the leftover resources to provision you the resources. For example, I am running 50 spot servers. Okay, and someone, okay, for example, customer A has placed request to start 150 servers. You know what Amazon does first? Okay, if Amazon can start, when Amazon can offer the capacity for 150 servers, your servers, your spot servers are not going to be impacted. If Amazon experiences any capacity issues to launch these 150 servers, they'll first terminate your servers. These servers will be gone. Okay, there is another point I would like to add. AWS can terminate. When I say terminate, destroy your spot servers anytime with or without notice. That's the reason mission critical workloads or workloads that are very much critical should not be running here. Okay, that is a prime point. For example, you're just a spot guy, right? What if I'm ready to pay the pricing that is equivalent to on demand? So why Amazon has to give me the discount? Okay, so Amazon is just offering me just because they are not using. If there are some customers who are ready to pay more, why do they offer spot? That is a point number one. Okay, so Amazon offers the spot instances from the leftover instances when they are not utilized or underutilized. Amazon also sponsors the spot instances on the reserved instances from the customers who are ready to pay but not utilizing it. During that time, Amazon utilizes it. And that's the reason spot instances are not meant to run production-based workloads. But, but what if you are having an application called as, okay, payment application. Okay, what if you are having a payment application? So for example, so in production, to save the billing, how we are designing is, okay, this is for example, let's assume this is a payment application. At the server and the top of the server, we have installed a payment application. Likewise, if you are having 6 payment servers running on your infrastructure, okay, so payment is being processed by 6 servers. Let's assume that way. What companies are doing is, to get the better discount, what they do is, rather than running all the services reserved or on-demand instances, what they do is they try to run certain instances as a spot servers. Okay, that means that 20 to 40% of the workload they are running using spot. So here in this situation, because of so many capacity issues, even if Amazon terminate this server, still there are 4 instances which would be running, which still let your payment processing of your customers happen. But in this case, you are getting 2 servers. That means here 40% of the resources you are getting 90% discount. Okay, so in our training, we are going to design the entire infrastructure in this way, in a cost optimized approach, how organizations design. All right. And this is one of the strategy, and Spot is one of the most happening thing in the industry. So there is a company called a Spot.io, which is from the EMC. I don't know, EMC by NetApp. Yes. So what this company does is they buy all the Spot resources from all the cloud providers, and they if you want some Spot servers in AWS Cloud or Google Cloud, you can even request these guys. They offer it for better prices than them. Okay, but it goes by request. So I work for one of the company where they were using Spot. Spot is a company name by NetApp, which buys all the resources from all the clouds, either from AWS Cloud, Azure Cloud, or Google Cloud. All these resources they buy and they offer it. Your cloud, your tools, one Spot. Our software works with the leading cloud platforms, services, and the tools so that you can simplify and automate your cloud infrastructure where are your workloads. Okay, this is one nice thing that's happening in the industry. All right. Any questions? But we don't have time to create a Spot server. So tomorrow we're gonna create a Spot server, and tomorrow first 15 to 20 minutes we're gonna talk on the Spot, and then we're gonna talk about Linux. Starting from tomorrow we're gonna start Linux. 2 to 3 days we start Linux, and starting from Monday we're gonna start working on project. Okay, these are very much important. Billing. Okay, that's where everything start. So even you go any interview, typically they ask you, okay, if they like your profile or if you answer well, they ask you what all cost optimizations that you have suggested in your organization, or how much billing has it saved. So they love to hear such kind of things, and that's the reason we also make sure our training is designed in this perspective. And that's for today. And with that note, I would like to end the session, and the meeting link remains the same, and there won't be any changes in the meeting link. Okay, so session meeting link remains the same, and there won't be any changes in the schedule, and we're gonna meet same time tomorrow. All right, and everyone, please, okay, hope everyone has received this B57 repository. In case if you haven't, please check the chat history, or I'm gonna forward this as well. And the AMI to use is available here. And please check in the North Virginia, and these are case sensitive, which means they don't work if you use C as a capital letter, O as a capital letter, or something. Okay, they are case sensitive, and you can also find the notes in this particular folder. So session 3, session 4. Session 4, you can see the notes in few minutes. All right. That's for today. And if you have any questions, you can stay on. I could see yeah, I'm gonna take the questions, and at the same time I'm ending the recording. Yeah.